And talking about it, we lost. We lost, and everything that we say we want to do for a football game in order to be successful, we didn't do well. And so when you really go back and look at it, well, we just got outplayed, and it happens when you start slow, and people their mission is to start fast, and they've openly said that hey they got to match their energy and start fast. They did that, we didn't, and so we didn't answer the bell. They did, and they won a football game. So we'll look to get better.
You got Western in 2 weeks, bye week this week, Western in 2 weeks. They're playing their first game this weekend. What's the one leading up to that game on the 7th? What's the one thing you got to get better between now and then?
Hey, we got to get healthy, and that's the deal. I think when you look at the previous 2 games compared to the last one, you know, we knew we were going to be missing a lot of guys in a COVID year, but we weren't missing guys to COVID. We were missing guys to just the normal football injuries, and that's kind of what people have forgotten about. And so we look to get healthy. We look to get back to the execution of what we do. We look to get back to the basics of just ball, blocking and tackling. And so we'll do some of that this week. We'll heal our guys up. We'll recruit a little bit more this week than what we normally do during the regular game week, just to try to ensure. Now we've got a great preview of what our team is, what we still need, who we are, who we can be, what guys can help us win a national championship. And that's what we're looking at now, what pieces we need to add to continue to work toward that goal of winning the national championship.
Questions?
Reps this week, I mean, obviously you've got new quarterback, young guy, but all your receivers are also pretty new to the program.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've got guys hurt that we're getting a lot of reps.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just a lot of reps and familiarity
Yeah.
this week? I mean,
Yeah.
It's a perfect week for it.
Yeah, Patty, you just kind of go back to the beginning and go back to the day one installs and reinstall, and not reinstall your whole system, but go back over the basic things that you know you're really good at based on the 3 games we've had. And so just trying to make sure we sure alignment's up, and you know, guy's supposed to be 2 yards inside the hash at receiver, making sure he's 2 yards inside the hash, not 1.5 yards, and just the details of what we do. It's a great week to refresh the details and kind of alleviate some reps off some guys too while we're doing that. Really focusing more mentally than physically. We know who we are from a physical standpoint. Guys have had some good games, guys have had some bad games, but we know who we are. We know who can fight and who will fight. Now it's making sure that when they're fighting, they're in the mental space where they're fighting in the right place. And so that's what we're going to take in this week.
Well, and plus with a week off, you don't have to hit
Mm-hmm.
a lot this week. So
Mm-hmm.
you can do a lot of 7-on-7 type breakdown things.
Yeah.
And not beat each other up and get healthy.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because we beat each other up on the front end. Me being new and our staff being new, not having one inkling of what anybody looked like in pads, we went to war with each other. We fought each other and we hit each other, and it wasn't about the season. We needed to know, and we need to get some real answers on who can and who cannot. And so as I talked to coaches around the country, a lot of them took the approach of mini camp in the NFL. We took the approach of fall camp is in September. And it's only one way to train a physical football team. And we lost some guys because of that. And that was okay with me. But I do think we're physical, more physical than we would have been because of the way we started getting prepared. And so now we know we don't have to do that this week. Like I said, we can sharpen some tools up and kind of get back to the basics.
Specifically, you had time to look at the film and kind of talk about getting back to details. Was there anything specifically from like a game film standpoint you saw with the loss that will help you going forward?
Yeah, it wasn't just with the loss. We saw it in the wins. Nobody wants to talk about it in the wins. That people want to talk about it when you lose. But there's some alignment and assignment issues that we just cannot make at any time. Sometimes you're going to be more talented than your opponent, and you can make some mistakes and get away with them. When it's even, it comes down to the execution of what you do. And if you don't execute it really well, then the next person, the opponent, they get a jump on you. And so we're just going to keep harping on the things that we've been harping on. When we talk about culture changes, that's what this has been. This has been a full culture change. And so there's some things that people were able to get away with before, But you just can't get away with it now, and we have to keep our thumb on guys to make sure that that's the case.
And with Gavin being a freshman quarterback and having 2 games under his belt now, what are you guys trying to kind of work on with him, whether the mental side or on the field this week during the bye week?
Yeah, anytime you have any quarterback in a newer system, you just want to keep the details in front of him. He threw 2 picks the other day. Everybody's quick to say the quarterback threw 2 picks and didn't look at the route. We're trying to make sure that him and the receivers are on the same page, that he maintains a grasp of this offense, and that we're continuing to coach him to get better, not just to win these games, but to ultimately take our program where it's never been before. We got a lot of talented guys. We got to get them all on the same page, and so we look to do that with him, just like anybody else at any other position.
Secondary did a good job keeping the energy up. I thought, at the end of the game, they kept you guys in it up until the very end.
Yeah.
Were you encouraged by what you saw from them and for the rest of the
I think our secondary is the best in the RMAC and might be the best to ever walk through here. We've got 4 guys back there that can play anywhere I've ever coached. And so even when they make mistakes, they're still good. And but saying that, they still got some things that they can get better at. And so we look to work on those things too. But I thought our secondary continued to play well. The passes that people get, they don't come on the corners. They don't come from the corners. I think we've got 2 of the best corners to ever do it here. And I say that knowing the history and tradition of this football program and where we've been, but I haven't seen one in our league that can play like Devontae Loggins or that can play. We got a couple of corners, D'Angelo Lindsay and Ed McCoy, and then our safety play continues to be excellent. And so they got a long way to go, though. Everybody does. Just because we're playing well don't mean we're going to continue to play well like we've been. But we also haven't seen receivers like we're going to see when we're making playoff runs, just being brutally honest. So those guys got to continue to get better. And what they've been doing, in my opinion, is what they were supposed to do with the people that they played against.
Well, off the subject of football, but I know you worked hard to get all your kids registered to vote.
Yep.
It's a week away. Obviously, they're all doing absentee or mail-in. But what has that kind of been like to kind of getting guys to understand a little bit about life outside of football?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. We have a lot of conversations in our program about life, about what it means to use your voice and using your voice in the different avenues and platforms that they have. So it's been fun to get a bunch of guys registered to vote that one reason or another might not have voted. It's been fun. But the conversations that we've had with those guys about don't get so overly focused on the presidential election. A lot of us going to go through our whole lifetime, never even go to the White House, let alone meet a president. So, but the local election, the county commissioner, the state senators and representatives, U.S. representatives, let's focus on those things. Let's really see what we can do, what we can hear, and what we believe in with those candidates. So we've went to where they are. We went to apps and technology and algorithms and things to make sure that they're voting for not just a party that they want to vote for, but the person that says, at least on the front end, that they're going to do closer to that individual player's beliefs. And so it's been fun. It's had some tough conversations like we continue to have. But for the most part, to see those guys get registered, some of them never voted before, and they're well past voting age. They just never thought it was important. And so to hear them start to talk about it in the locker room on different issues has been fun for me as a coach, and it makes it true what we said we were going to do on the front end, that we were going to be more than just about ball, that we were going to really be a lifelong teaching program. So I'm happy that our coaches continue to have those conversations with those guys, and we look forward to, even after the election, keep having them.
I'm going to make a comparison to Pro Bowl. I'm a Rams fan, so this is easy for me. Last week, they kind of got their butts kicked by San Francisco. Last night, put on a dominant performance. And they kind of said it was because Aaron Donald, and you've talked about your guys when the locker room takes over the locker room. Mm-hmm. Aaron Donald said we played soft last week. When the best player in the NFL kind of steps up and says, hey guys, we played soft.
Yeah.
Do you have guys in the locker room? What do you have to do to make, not next week, but the week after, like your kind of bounce back?
I don't think I have to do anything. I think I was talking to Jim Davis this morning. He said, man, Coach, there was a player just sat on the bench after the game. He stayed there forever and just kind of reflected on the game. Well, that's good. He should. He should reflect. Everybody associated with Colorado Mesa should have sat down and reflected on why we lost that game. Because it sucks and it hurts. And when you put in the amount of work that we've asked these guys to put in, they should sit back and reflect. So I don't think we'll have a problem getting our players ready to play. You know, we tell them, it's kind of like my grandma when she was baking cookies, hey, don't touch that deal, it's hot right now. And we told them, if you don't prepare very well, you're going to get beat. And we got beat. And so now that they know that fire burns and it's hot, I don't think we have to do anything as coaches. I think they'll take care of it. And if you don't have energy, if you don't have enthusiasm, you're not going to win. I don't care who you are, what scheme you got. If you don't have those two things going into a football game, you ain't going to win. They know that now. They understand that, and hopefully they learn from that.
Coach, COVID precautions are kind of a drag. Is there any let-off from your team coming up with COVID precautions and testing and all that stuff?
No, we actually went today instead of normal Wednesday. We went today because we just want to know, if there's any issues, and then we'll go again 72 hours out next week. COVID has been the least of our issues. Our kids have done a really good job for the most part in staying healthy and staying away from large parties and crowds. And I don't think people realize how difficult what we're asking them to do is when we've all went to college and was able to do whatever we want to do. But yet these college football players who have an extra level of being popular because they're football players can't do anything. And so I've been very proud of them from a COVID standpoint, but we'll continue to monitor and wear masks and eye shields or whatever we got to do in order to play. But that's been pretty good in my opinion for the most part.
All right, Josh, question of the week.
If you could get rid of one sport, just wipe it off the face of the earth, what sport would it be?
You want my honest opinion?
I want your honest opinion.
I would get rid of everything besides football. Like, I'll be honest with you, man. I think football is the only sport that matters. And I'm biased, but when you really look at our game and what our game does and how our game correlates to everyday living, I think it's the only sport that should be played for men, women, and children. And so that's just my personal opinion. But if I had to give you one, lacrosse, I don't understand. I don't understand why people play lacrosse.
I'll explain it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying, like it, and maybe I've never been to a country club before. Maybe it's one of those sports, but it's just, yeah, I mean, and our lacrosse coach is tough, but I just don't understand why you run around and hit each other with sticks. I mean, I've went, but probably that one.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate it.
Because you can